In the episode 1 behind the scenes video, there was a shot of a book of Targaryen history that was randomly shown for about 3 seconds. And in that book, some new details and lore were uncovered that provide some pretty damning evidence for a long-standing theory. You see, there are many book readers who have speculated that House Targaryen might have been involved in causing the Doom of Valyria, being that they were conveniently the only dragon lords to survive, which I will briefly break down for you. The full theory hinges on Lannister gold. The World Book mentions a prophecy concerning the Doom, that the sorcerers of Valyria had foretold that the gold of Casterly Rock would cause their destruction. The World Book also mentions that the 14 flames, which were the chain of volcanoes within the Valyrian freehold, were kept under control by the sorcerers of Valyria. And the World Book goes on to further suggest political unrest between dragon lords and the assassination of one too many of these sorcerers as being a catalyst for their eruption. Furthermore, in A Feast for Crows, the Faceless Men have hinted that they did have some involvement in causing the Doom. And the Faceless Men are a guild of assassins, but the drawback of their service is that it's incredibly costly. In A Game of Thrones, Peter Baelish mentions that for the cost to hire a single Faceless Man, you could buy an entire army of sellswords. And sometime before the Doom, the Valyrian steel blade Brightroar came into the possession of House Lannister, and the World Book states that the weight of gold they paid for it would have conveniently been enough to buy an army. So the fan theorists naturally put 2 and 2 together and realized that the Valyrian steel blade was probably sold to the Lannisters, and the gold they received in return was used to buy the services of a Faceless Man. But the assumption that this was House Targaryen just never did sit right with me, because that would mean that they were responsible for the destruction of an entire civilization, basically the genocide of their own people, which is a lot to blame on just one minor dragon-riding family that didn't seem to have any clear motive. Well, any clear motive until now, because we have our smoking gun people. The book in episode 1, behind the scenes, is pretty much giving us our motive for selling a Valyrian steel blade. If you notice, page 1 and page 2 are just different variations of the same story, some of which is taken directly out of Fire and Blood, which states on the second page, the Targaryens were far from the most powerful of the Dragon Lords, and their rivals saw their flight as an act of surrender, as an act of cowardice, but Lord Aenar's maiden daughter Daenys, forever known as Daenys the Dreamer, had foreseen the Doom of Valyria by fire. What isn't widely known, however, is that Daenys had claimed Balerion, at the time no bigger than a horse, the night before her fateful dream. When the Doom came 12 years later, the Targaryens were the only Dragon Lords to survive. Let us go back and return to that fateful day, when Daenys awoke in her gilded bedchamber, shaking, running swiftly to her mother Elaena. She spoke of what she had seen. Elaena Targaryen, it must be said, was a dour and gloomy woman. Her family's fall from dominance gloomed and vexed her, but instead, Elaena tossed gold coins as if they were plentiful. And that was page 2. On page 1, it's a reiteration of the same passage with a few minor differences, and we are going to go over those differences. Instead of it saying the Targaryens were far from the most powerful of the Dragon Lords, it says, within shining walls, 2 rival houses vied for the power and glory, rising and falling in an endless, subtle, and oft-savage struggle for dominance. And the middle is word for word the same passage, until we get to this section right here. Fixated on perception, she blamed her enemies on her husband. If she wanted something, be it a new dress, a jade tiara, or an emerald ring, she would have it. So this is some pretty big news, guys. Up until now, we had always thought that House Targaryen was a minor dragon-riding family, and had always been a minor family in Valyria. But this new lore is telling us that that wasn't always the case. That House Targaryen had experienced a fall from dominance, and it was a fall that Elaena wasn't very happy about. Furthermore, it also mentions that she had enemies, and that she had an issue with spending money that they didn't have, which is implying that they had either come into money that no one was aware of, or that she would soon be draining their family's wealth. Either way, it implies the likelihood for the need for their family to sell something, and the fact that this is mentioning that they had enemies and that they had fallen from power. Those are 2 clear motives right there. Furthermore, Elaena herself is also new lore. Previously, the mother of Daenys the Dreamer was never mentioned. And here she is in this book of Targaryen history taking center stage, along with her daughter Daenys. And it was to Elaena that Daenys went to when she had her dream. Interestingly, this reveal of Targaryen lore occurred in the behind the scenes for episode 1, the same episode where we get the new opening credits depicting the Doom. And when we go to the opening credits, we see what most believe to be Aenar the Exile and his daughter Daenys, but people are missing a very important detail that identifies the writer as a woman. If you notice this small area right here, that's a sleeve. And from everything that we've seen from Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, that's a woman's sleeve. And from her hair, we see the gold and blood trailing behind her as they leave for Dragonstone. And it is from these gold threads that turn into the frame for the depiction of the Doom. Out of pure speculation, it could be that the circles being formed by the gold threads is more than just fancy scroll work. The gold circles might be representing the Lannister gold coins that were used to cause the assassination that would eventually cause the Doom of Valyria. Alright, that's it for today. Let me know what you guys think, and if you found this video useful or entertaining or enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. They really do help. Thanks for watching.